Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Mantra, slave songs, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me they're tired as a friend on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Long in this singing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging the generations remember our story.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Happy Tuesday. Hope all is well with everybody. Thank you for being here with us for this morning's show. I will be bringing Sydney and Coach Trill up to the big screen here shortly. I first want to give a shout out to Gotcha. Hold up. 1 sec. Yo. All right. Cool. Let me bring everybody up. You see the title. I got the clip. Let's see here. Good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Doing pretty good. I woke up on time, so I don't feel exhausted.
Morning. You good, man? You sound like you coming down with something.
I got a habit of having the air on when I shouldn't have the air on. So when I'm asleep at night, sometimes that air get on me, and I kind of make myself sick. I ain't gonna lie. It's already cold enough outside. I had the heat on, but see, I can't sleep hot. So I'll turn the air on, and then I think that's really be mess with my breathing and stuff like that. But I'm all right.
You're just like my husband. Every day, every night, we sleep with the window open. He has a fan that blows out the window, and then we also have the ceiling fan on. I'm always freezing, but if it's off, he's hot. He runs hot, and it drives me crazy. It always tricks me because I'm like, oh, it's freezing outside, and then I go outside in long sleeves and long pants. I'm like, what the heck? It's like 80 degrees outside.
Yeah, I can't help myself. During During the daytime, I'm good. At night, I gotta be comfortable. I can't, so hopefully I don't bite myself in the butt. Let me bring this up on the big screen though. Just hold up. So Benzino, he called out Stephen A. Smith because of what he said about Jasmin Crocket. A lot of people got different feelings about her. So let's really talk about this for a second, man. I'm gonna let this play, and we're just gonna jump straight to it.
Smith, I'll say it to your face. You are Uncle Tom, Django, Step and Fetch It, Uncle Ruckus, all rolled up in one. You're a coward, all right? All right? You definitely tap dance. What you don't know, right, is that when ESPN came with the Pat McAfee show, they had a plan. They said, you know what, we're going to give Stephen A. Smith a bunch of money because First Take's doing too good in the black community. Yeah, we got to get this thing back to what it's supposed to be. So here comes Pat McAfee. And shout out to Pat McAfee. I like his show. Pat McAfee caters to the white people. He got his guys with the mullets, the cowboy hats. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Stephen A. Smith, you was for us. Then all of a sudden you took a turn. They had a plan for you. They said, you know what? We're going to pay him this money. So give him instructions to go out there and tap dance and disrespect as many black people, especially black women, because black women are on the come up. They strong. Their voices are strong. Let's get Stephen A. Smith to say some things about him. This way here, he'll lose a lot of his black following, and then Pat McAfee will be number one. They're just playing you out for money, you goofy motherfucker. You Kermit the Frog looking, invisible hairline ass, goofy ass motherfucker. Like, you're the worst. You're the worst. All right? I'll say it to your face, and I'll go further than that. I'll challenge your bitch ass to a boxing match. Celebrity boxing, me and you, Stephen A. Smith. Yeah. That's why Pat McAfee got LeBron on his show. Nobody wants to come on your show no more, Stephen A. Smith. All that.
Jasmin Crocket has been invited on this show multitude of times. You sitting down talking to everybody else. How come you ain't sit down and talk to me? Scared of what I'm going to ask? I don't know. I have no clue. But if you're going to say something like that about somebody, hell, say it to their face.
Hey, Stephen A.
All right. Let's start here. Let's address what Benzino said first. Is Stephen A. Smith a plant? Is he a sellout? Any thoughts on his statement?
Minus the insults, I'll say he has some valid points. That seems to ring out throughout our community and throughout the people that are in a position to quote unquote bring some light or shed some light on some things. But again, also, if you look at the trajectory of Stephen A. Smith, I don't think he's focusing on sports anymore. He's looking into politics. He's looking into just building his own brand. So it just seems to be on par with what everybody else is doing.
He's definitely among the, I mean, honestly, I'm probably a bit biased with this, but I don't trust the media in general. I mostly source my news from experts on YouTube, experts on social media that are putting information out there because like all of the main news media sources, I'm not going to say their names, but we all know which ones they are. I just don't trust them because one, they're huge conglomerates that are there for ratings. So they're going to report on the stuff that will get them money and not really the things that will benefit people. They'll report things in a way that's passive and non-offensive because they don't want to lose their viewers. They don't want to upset their stakeholders. They don't want to bother the CEO. So all of the people that work on those shows, I don't trust them. I don't trust that they are being honest with who they are. I don't believe that they're honest with their opinions. I think that they're just spouting what is going to get them the most views in a way that is favorable to that particular news channel that they're working for. And also, just like you said, he's working up to have a political career and potentially other things. So he's also going to be speaking in a way that kind of favors him in those arenas as well. So I personally don't trust him. I agreed with a lot of what that speaker was saying about him.
I've spoken this before. I say he's a grifter to me. It's him, and then there's a few other people that I could name too. I won't, but he's a grifter. This thing, like, I hate it because there's things he'll speak about that you'll be like, it makes sense, and then you know he's going to end up flipping it so that he sound good to both parties. And that's why I'm with you. I don't really trust the media. I don't put a lot of stock in these guys anymore either. I don't think that the way that Benzino addressed this was actually profitable. What does having to get in a boxing ring got to do with your grievances with how he addresses certain discussions? That sounds like a personal gripe. Like you have some other motives with that. Like that was taking it too far as far as I'm concerned. Like I didn't see the whole point in that part, but I do understand where he's coming from. He made some comments about Jasmin Crocket because you know she has a different stance on Trump, and he tried to get her on the show because he wanted to sit down with her. Never happened. He feels as if she's being counterproductive with her style and her approach. He's essentially saying, I hear you, I understand that you're angry and that you're trying to speak for the people, but the way that you're attacking Donald Trump and the way that you are antagonizing and coming at these people is not going to get it done. And so I think the chastisement that he gave her is interpreted as he's shaming or has a history of shaming not only just her specifically, but any Black woman that has a different opinion or view in the political game. So how much do we really know about Jasmin Crocket?
Interesting question. Well, I think just to kind of target the question you're asking, like why, like is she being counterproductive? Why do people not like her potentially? I think one of the things that is different about her than we've had in quite a while is she's the type of politician that is basically willing to call it out as she sees it. A lot of people don't like it because, I mean, for one, we're in an incredibly divisive society or country right now. And there's a lot of people that are not on the same page. There's also going to be opinions from sides that don't believe women should be in politics, sides that believe people of color should not be in politics. But I think there's also people that don't respect her because they think her views are contradictory. I have had conversations with people online that like her, but also don't like her because I have heard claims that I've heard people say, well, it's because she's Zionist. I've heard people say that she's doing it just for her own political gain, that she doesn't actually have meaning behind what she says. Personally, I enjoy her because I think it's a refreshing change from politicians that are just, they all seem dead inside and they're just following the rules, following the ranks, just like, yes, I will follow the Constitution and do what you ask me to do. Like, they don't communicate with the community. They don't reach people where we're at. And she has that fever pitch that is reaching a lot of people where they're at and how they feel, and reflects a lot of the sentiment in the American people that we are not being represented by the people that we voted for. And she's calling attention to that. She calls attention to the things that politicians are doing that are hurting the American people or going against what their job is supposed to be. And I think a lot of people don't like that because there's a subsect of the population that does not agree with antagonistic behavior, particularly from politicians, because they see that as being not within the job description, basically, that they should be quiet and behind the scenes and just doing desk work. So I can't say for sure if we know the true Jasmin, but I think honestly it comes close to who she is as a person, because to exhibit those types of emotions with that type of vigor, it has to be something that you're pretty passionate about. It's quite difficult to fake enthusiasm and fake your passion for a particular thing. So I think honestly we've just struck the whole political system has struck a nerve with her, and we're just seeing her outcry against everything that's happening. Yeah.
Coach, what makes having a conversation with a politician such as her on a small platform different from having this conversation on a major media platform? What makes the conversation different?
I have no idea, but it depends on whose the platform it is, and I guess how they go about as far as for the rules and regulations that they have, and the biases, non-biases, and what type of message that they're trying to get out there with that platform versus the larger platforms. They are bound to, sponsors, different people that support them and make donations and different parties and things like that. So again, a small platform could be doing the same thing. I have no idea, but it just depends on who the individuals are, what their motives and their intentions are. But those are some things that can be looked at from the outside looking in, and you can make an assumption, but I have no idea on what makes them different.
It also depends on the leaning of the show as well. If it's more moderate, they're going to cater to both sides, and they're going to give like, well, there's this, but then there's also this. But if it's more leaning towards one side or the other, then they're heavily going to favor the information to the one side. Whereas I think ones that are not catering to a certain demographic and are sharing the information to get the information out there, as opposed to what the sponsors want, what the CEO wants, whatever, they're more likely to tell the information as it is and give multiple different interpretations of that information for the viewers to come to their conclusions based on the information available.
Is Benzino clout chasing? I've never seen that brother in a single conversation when it comes to anything remotely close to something that is speaking on Trump or anything really. Anytime I ever see him, he's arguing with somebody or he's fighting with somebody or he's trying to get into it with somebody. But for him to just jump out the window and antagonize her because of, well, antagonize him because of whatever reason, I don't know. It just feels like people just be coming out of the thin air just with issues, but it feels scripted. It really does feel scripted. And look, I don't really know her like that, and I don't really know the history that Stephen A. Smith has following these people. If he's trying to transition from sports to politics, he has to understand what he's putting himself in. He has to know he's about to get a lot of pushback and backlash for it. Anybody who's looking at this with a clear set of eyes, they know that there's a game that's being played and you're trying to please both sides and you can't do that. Is it possible? Is it possible to be the rebellion in the government? Is it possible to be unbiased, to be raw, to be completely blunt, call out both parties and still just be able to be invited to the barbecue everywhere you go? Because if Stephen A. Smith is saying that she's on some BS, Benzino saying he's on some BS, who's really telling the truth? Who's really being honest? Who's really for the people if that's the case?
I don't think it's ever truly possible to be completely unbiased because we're always going to have some level of self-interest in whatever we're talking about. And we're always going to have a specific belief system about whatever opinion that we're sharing. You can do your best at being unbiased. For example, in scientific papers to combat the bias that the scientists might have, they examine other potential explanations for whatever findings that they discovered. And so you can mitigate bias, but you're never going to be able to completely eliminate bias because as human beings, we're emotional creatures, and it's incredibly hard for us to remove ourselves from topics of discussion because we're always going to have a specific leaning, and subconsciously or consciously, we're going to kind of gravitate towards that particular opinion and show some form of bias in some way. And I think, unfortunately, my answer for the who's right is they both believe they're right. And there's going to be groups of people that believe those people are right. So who is right depends on who you ask. And I have my opinion of who I think is right. But even then, I don't agree with, I agree with parts of what they said. I don't agree with some of the things that were said. For example, I don't agree with the delivery using a bunch of insults because I don't believe insults really get you anywhere. But in some respects, they both have points that are true. But I personally don't like Stephen. So I would say that he's wrong, but that's just me.
let's set the scene, and this is for both of y'all. You are the moderator for a debate. Doesn't matter if it's her or him. It could be anybody. Because I'm really contemplating some stuff. You are the officiator. What's your setup? What's your environment? How do you lay out a foundation that is neutral for both parties and facilitate this exchange so that it's actually productive and it doesn't go left like we've seen with Anton and Corey? What does that look like to you? How do you make that happen? Don't matter who go first. I'm just asking in general.
I think one of the things that's really important is making sure that both individuals have space to give their answers without the other person immediately attacking the things that they have to say. Because I know that's where a lot of discussions go awry, is when one person's talking and then immediately the other person starts, oh, no, 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 you don't know what you're talking about, and just starts to talk over the other person. So allowing segmented parts of the conversation where somebody talks, then the next person talks, then the next person talks, and also giving people the opportunity to respond to the things that they heard. And then also having ground rules set for, like, you cannot insult people, you cannot mock them. You also should be bringing in solid actual evidence rather than hearsay, to allow the discussion to actually be beneficial, and not just like conjecture. And then lastly, on the part of all of them, like maintaining a specific tone, because once it comes to yelling or complaining, usually those discussions kind of dissolve into meaningless bantering.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about people that work on a news show. So the way they typically go about setting up a moderator and a moderating facility in operation. So I don't think that's something that, that we need to kind of focus on with them, because they're professionals in that realm, between being journalists and as well as politicians. I mean, they're subject matter experts in those fields. So whichever one worked for them and whichever thing that they agreed on, and the network that they agreed to, or the platform that they agreed to display it on.
I just wonder why these things always end up at an exchange of word vomit. You can disagree with somebody and still verbally express your distaste for their views without the slander and the overly masculine stuff. I don't think that with those type of conversations, they should be held on platforms that are they're known for twisting information or kind of manipulating facts in history for their own benefit. I think if you're going to put somebody like him and her in the same room, it has to be somewhere. First of all, both of them have something to lose, but who's willing to actually give up certain benefits, sponsorships, et cetera, et cetera? That's one thing I don't think will ever give you a real good back and forth. If you got friends in high places and you make money with these people and you break bread with them, it's going to be harder for you to really talk how you want to, because you don't want to hurt nobody's feelings and you don't want to step on nobody's toes. So I don't know. I don't know. I would rather you be in a space with somebody who don't have no ties to you. Like, I ain't on speed dial for you or her, and I could say, yeah, you right, you wrong, or I could be that way with both of y'all. I don't have no invitations to a birthday party and no shit like that. So that's just me. But yeah. Do you trust any politicians? Should any of them really be fully invested in for any reason? Like, if you're going to vote, matter of fact, here's a question. I don't really vote. I don't. I voted one time and we ended up with you know who. So I'm pissed about that. But I know it's going to sound oxymoronic, but if you're going to vote, are you voting because you believe in the person, or you're voting because they just seem like the lesser of two evils, or you just know based on the information on the person that gives you the reason to vote for them? Or do you, matter of fact, do you think people are voting for the right reason, or they're just, let me go ahead and do this because I like them?
But you said you only voted once. So what's the reason for you not voting, and what's the reason that motivates you to vote the one time?
I voted because I didn't want the person in office not to be in office.
Well, do you think that was effective?
Hell no. Nope. Nope.
So it sounds like you got into the voting process reactively versus proactively, not necessarily doing all the questions that you're asking. You know what I'm saying? The due diligence on who you're voting for, looking at the causes, how it affects you in your community, your environment. I'm assuming you voted for the president and you skipped all the other branches and all the other elections leading up to the presidential election. You know, your local government, your local community, and all those type of things. So you probably should get involved at the level of your understanding is what you probably should do, and stop looking to social media and other platforms to be educated. Go out there and educate yourself and figure out what interests you in your community. Because if you don't even know what you're voting for, you can't talk shit about the person that you didn't or you did vote for. So you don't even know what options and the things that you have entitled to you as a citizen, as a law-abiding citizen, to be functional and operational in your environment. Voting is probably the last thing you should be worried about doing. Go get educated first, because you're just as dangerous as somebody else who's not educating you. It's like having a gun and not knowing how to operate it. You're pulling the trigger and don't know where the safety is. You know what I mean? You don't know who the actual target is, who the enemy is. So you're probably just as dangerous as somebody that didn't vote. So I would say go out and get educated, so that way you can make an informed and educated decision first and foremost.
See,
I have to agree wholeheartedly with that, because one of the things with staying civically involved is, one, you understand what your community needs, which will affect you. And you'll also understand where your place is in society, what your rights are, and the possibilities that you have as a citizen to enact change that you want to see. Because a lot of people are complainers, where they go on and on and on about how much they hate XYZ and how much they wish that it could be different, but they don't actually get involved. They don't do anything. They don't try and figure out how to, or they don't try to work with their community to see how can we fix housing, how can we fix income, how can we fix food accessibility, healthcare, all this stuff. And I think, unfortunately, right now, we are starting to see, we're in the midst of seeing what happens when people are not civically engaged. Because eventually, people who are very well aware of how the system works are going to be like, oh, look, they're not paying attention. So we can come in and change the system to make it benefit us, and no one's going to notice. No one's going to do anything. And we saw that in this past election, where part of the reason why he won was because a huge sect of the population didn't vote at all. They didn't participate. And we also are having a lot of people now that are essentially waking up and being like, wait, all of this happened and I didn't know, when we could have if we were involved at lower levels, understanding who our state representatives are, understanding who our mayor is, who are our other all the other politicians that exist. There's so many smaller ones that have a huge impact on where society goes. And most people, they couldn't even name who their mayor or state representative is or what they support. So it's our jobs. I mean, we're in a democracy. It's ruled by the people. So it is our responsibility as the people to understand what laws we have in place, how it's supporting us or not supporting us, so we can make the best decisions for us, our families, and our future, basically. So yeah, it's super important to understand your laws and how they affect you and all of the different things that are in play that affect our day-to-day lives, how we live, how we work, how we eat, everything. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. We have to be involved if we want any sort of progress.
Which leads me to my next question. With everybody who didn't vote, which I agree with both of you on, does that mean the people that did vote are just as uneducated? I mean, given the circumstances and what we've been seeing over the last couple of years, their decisions and their choices haven't really been very favorable to us either.
Yeah, you keep speaking in generalities. You're saying they, them, and for us. So if they voted, then is it favorable for the people that voted, or is it, or you got to provide some type of example? Because if I go out and vote and you don't vote, I don't care if it's favorable for you. So what do you mean? Because I did my part. So I'm trying to figure out what do you mean by the question when you're trying to compare and contrast?
Well, it didn't really benefit anybody, is what I'm saying. You
and
voted,
whose perspective and whose opinion? Because you saying it didn't benefit anybody. You can't speak for everybody, man. So speak for the people you're saying that it didn't benefit from.
I'm speaking for the people. I'm speaking for the people who voted for the person, and now they wish they didn't vote for the person.
So I guess if you would have to get the reasons to why they wish they didn't vote for him, and then I guess that would be the answer. You know what I'm saying? Because again, if they were uneducated and they just voted because his skin tone or his tonality of how they thought that he was speaking to a particular group of people, you know what I'm saying? If he voted because some people thought taxes were going to be saved for their demographic or their tax bracket, you know, so it depends on what you're talking about. You can't just, it's too broad of a question to answer is my point.
Right. Now, see, what I'm referring to is people just voting because they like the person or they don't like another group of people, so they vote for that side just because of this and that and the third. They don't really.
Then that would be the success right there. I don't like him, so I'm voting for you. That's a success. Now, if you're talking about anything else after that, that's something completely different because that just answered that one particular thing. I don't like you. I just want to make sure you don't get in office. And I made a decision on this. Okay, well, it was successful. You didn't get in office. if that was, you see what I'm saying? Before we start moving and pivoting to, moving the goalposts to other things, because now is there other things that you didn't want or that you didn't account for? Very well may be true, but again, if that's the only reason, just like people didn't want Kamala, right, because she was a woman, or just because she was considered to be a woman of a certain minority or a certain ethnicity, and they didn't want her in office and they wanted Trump in office, then, I mean, technically you got what you wanted. Now, all the other stuff that comes with the intangibles that you didn't probably factor in, that's something completely different. But to answer your question on that part, yeah, they got exactly what they want. They just don't like the repercussions that came with their choices.
I think a lot of like kind of playing off what you were saying in for like generalities. I think people, you asked if the people who didn't vote or I forgot exactly how you worded it, but if they were educated or not. And I think there's different levels of being educated. There's some people that do a bunch of research into it. They weigh both sides of the issue. They try and understand both candidates or all of the candidates to the best of their ability. They do research on both sides of the aisle to try and get a balanced view at what involves that particular candidate. And then some people consider their research like watching a subset of data, watching certain types of people, into opinions from people on one side, and consider that research. And then some people, they don't have access to information. Like there are a lot of rural communities that do not have the diversity of news channels and the diversity of information available at their fingertips. There's a lot of people that don't actually have access to the internet, that don't have access to a library or places that you can get. And a lot of people don't even use libraries. But there's a lot of people that don't access the information that is available. And so they're making a decision that to them is educated, but to people that are way into the research would consider not educated. So it's I think it's difficult to say like, oh, one group is educated and one group isn't, because most people would consider themselves educated. Like, well, I looked into it. And then there's also the last group of people who are the disengaged, that they either didn't vote at all, or they were like, yeah, I picked that one because it was the woman, or I picked that one because it wasn't the woman. So there's a lot of different types of voters, and I wouldn't say one type specifically is educated and another type isn't. I just think that people have varying levels of engagement, but I don't think there's actually, without looking at the research myself, I don't think there's actually a link between how educated your decision was and how happy you were with that decision. Because you can put a lot of research into something, think that someone's the best candidate, and they just wildly disappoint you. So I don't think there's really a relationship between how educated a person is and how happy they are with their choice.
I didn't like his ass, so I didn't vote for him. Shit, it is what it is, and I take full responsibility for my lack of knowledge on certain subjects. I should know better, you know. That's why I brought that up, you know, because there's a lot of people that are like me, and they're probably worse than I am with it. Like I can go and just do. It's not hard. It's just my problem is I don't really trust none of them. So it's hard for me to. It's like I didn't trust Hillary. I didn't trust Kamala, and you know, it's like I don't trust none of them. So I really don't want to pick anybody. But it's like, come on, you got to pick somebody, brother. You gotta pick somebody. So I just any mini money mo, and it was what it was, and that didn't help any. But I know better now, right? Because I'm not. I don't know how we got there, but
No, yeah, I shoot you some bail, man. It's again, I think you got to take everything is subjective, and it's not about liking people, man. You got to figure out. It's just about education because you can't make changes without education. And what's happening is so many people are out here just winging it and just figuring it. I'll just make a decision to go on, and life. You gotta educate yourself in these decisions that you are making and that you aren't making, because it's nothing wrong with not voting for somebody, but if you got a group of people that are educated and share similar beliefs, because a lot of people believe that the best way to stop the system is just to stop voting, period. Because it ain't no lesser of the two evils or the greater of the two evils. They all both wings on the same bird. So it just depends on, again, subjectivity, who you're talking to, and then what's in the best interest for whoever those people that you're having a conversation with. So, surrounding yourself around like-minded people and just getting educated and making more informed decisions versus uninformed decisions, because that's what's hurting us. It's the lack of education and not being informed enough to even not make a decision based on good principles and good reasons.
I'll say this in my closing remarks. What you see me doing, I'm just being honest. I spent a large portion of my life being reckless with my choices. So me seeing the effects of it has made me hold myself accountable for it. And I want people to understand it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be ignorant in some areas, but at some point you gotta wake up and you gotta start putting in the work. You can't rely on everybody all the time to put that knowledge in. You gotta go and see for yourself. Stephen A. Smith, and the conversation around him, Jasmin Crocket, and Benzino was just to go a little further into how do we get here where you're getting on social media and you're calling these people out for being liars and their plants and this, that, and the third. How do we even get there in the first place? Somebody had to select you to be in that seat. Someone said he was good at his job. They put him on TV. He made them money. And he's doing what he needs to do to put food on his table, whether or not you agree with it or not. But somebody said he was good enough to do the position, just like every other one. But our choices and who we give power to, it shouldn't matter. And I don't know. I didn't really put a lot of stock into it, I guess. So now I'm just looking more or less. It's like, all right, are there any decent people out here? Are there some real solid folks out here that still fight for the people, that'll still use this media for the right reasons? The answer I got is yes. Then I had to ask myself, all right, well, where are they? Then I had to respond, oh, they're out there. You're just not looking for them, or you don't know about them. And that's my position with this whole thing. So I don't listen to Stephen A. Smith. I can't, because he's too this way. And Benzino, as successful as he is, I'm not really a fan of his either. But hey, you can voice your opinion however you want. It's freedom of speech. I digress. If y'all got anything I want to close out with, the floor is yours.
Hey, so I'll say this, just to piggyback on the ignorant part. Definitely nothing wrong with identifying with that, but it is something wrong with not having that information and not putting forth the effort, because too many times we find excuses when it's beneficial. It's information, like Sid says, at the fingertips, and we should not be speaking on things that we have not looked into and at least tried to formulate a decent experience and to have a logical conversation with, because every chance that you get, you're influencing somebody out there, whether it's in person or online. And I would just say to people, it's too late. Stop looking for people for the change and be the change yourself. Start with yourself. Stop waking up every morning and seek change from the outside and seek change from within. Because I post a lot of stuff on social media. A lot of people post on social media, and people will click the like button, they'll click the share button. And that's good that we can share that experience or that thought. But that should be the beginning of education or healing, that engagement. If this sparks that light bulb and that curiosity for you to want to think about more, doing more, and being a better version, it takes more than hitting the click button and the like button. You got to actually put the work in. And I just want to say that, especially being halfway through the month of January in 2026, no better time to self-evaluate and look at the years, how we started and how you want to finish your year. So definitely do some self-evaluating and look at the change within and not within somebody else, and start being a better version of yourself today. Peace.
Just to kind of ride off that, start with education, because you never want to go into anything blindly. You always, even if you're going to the DMV, like, investigate, do I even need to go because they're doing everything online? Or look into what the wait times are, how to get an appointment. Like, always do research in everything you do, because it's going to save you a lot of difficulty. As simple as a task, but as complicated as a decision about who should run our country. You should always investigate things. And also, don't take things that you do see at face value. That's something that we learn as scientists. Don't just take one article and be like, that's how it is, because there's going to be other people that have done similar research, the same research, that will point to other conclusions, other reasons why that might not be the case. So you always want to find as many different sources as you possibly can. And also verify the sources that you're using. Don't just look at one Reddit post and be like, all right, see, I have the answer. Make sure you understand who you're getting your information from, because there are going to be people that are biased. There's going to be people that are less biased. There's going to be things that are for educational purposes, and there are going to be things that are for entertainment purposes. And all of those things will affect how that information is conveyed to you. And it's really important to understand the origin of the information that you're getting your education from, because it can drastically change how you view the world. This is why conspiracy theories are blowing up right now, because people will see it on a video and be like, oh yeah, see? And then they only look up sources that validate that conspiracy theory, rather than trying to understand the science behind it and why it's probably not aliens. So it's really, really important to understand the information just as much as you understand where that information is coming from and who is parroting that information. And then additionally, voting is only the beginning, or I should say education, then voting. Voting is, I would argue, one of the most important things you should do as a citizen of the United States, And honestly, you should practice it because we're very lucky we have this opportunity. Not all countries have that opportunity. But again, as you said, it's not the only thing that you can do. There's so many ways to get involved. And one of the things that I see a lot on social media that I really like to say and promote is be civically engaged in a way that one matters to you, but also speaks to your skills. So if you're somebody that's really good at rallying people around, maybe you could participate in protest or in organizations that speak out about certain issues, or you can encourage other people to vote. If you're really good at writing, then you could get into writing for organizations that preach or teach about things that matter to you or that are important to you. Get involved in ways that you can. Not everyone is going to be able to go out and protest day in, day out, and not everyone is going to be able to run to be a politician. But there's a lot of different roles within the community that allow people to still be politically engaged that don't take a whole career to do. So try and find ways that actually resonate with you, that are within your capacity. Nobody's expecting you to quit your job and become like this super crazy, like involved person. Like there are a lot of small ways that you can still benefit your community, benefit yourself, and stay active in your community without like giving all this time away. So try and find different things that fit within your life that can help you help your community.
Shout outs to you both. And shout outs to the people who pulled up today. We'll be back later on this evening, 7 Eastern. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Drive safe. And see y'all later.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't front on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their